Welcome to FBB Forum. My name is David, and I'm very pleased to welcome the stunning IFBB Pro Women's Physique competitor, Nathalee Thompson, to the podcast today. Nathalee started competing in bodybuilding back in 2011 and got her pro card in 2014 in women's physique. And she just recently competed at the Toronto Pro Super Show just a couple weeks ago. And she has something really exciting coming up in a few weeks. She's going to be competing at the Masters Olympia in Romania coming up in August. Thank you so much, Nathalee. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me, David.
Thank you. So my first few questions are just about how you got started in bodybuilding. And I was curious if you had an athletic or a sports background before you started in bodybuilding.
So yeah, I started playing soccer at the age of 9 and played all through to university. I played at the provincial level and trained at the national level, which was pretty amazing. And then I finished university and came home, and you know how it is. What do I do with my life?
Yeah.
So I couldn't find a job in the field that I was in. I took advertising and public relations, and I couldn't find a job in that. Anyways, so I was kind of doing odds and ends, and then I had my first daughter, and I had several years later, I had my second daughter, and I put on a lot of weight, 62 pounds to be exact.
Really?
With both of them, yeah. And so with my last one, I had some health complications. I had gestational hypertension.
Okay.
So my physician said, like once after I had her, my physician was checking me out and basically said that I needed to wear a holster monitor so he could monitor my blood pressure. He gave me a script for medication, and I was like, there's no way. Like high blood pressure runs in my family. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be one of the people that are going to be taking medication. So yeah. I was in his driveway at the doctor's office, and I looked at the prescription, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I ripped it up, and I drove home, and not too far from the house is a local gym. And I drove to the gym, and I saw this girl's picture, and she was in a bikini, and it was all sparkly. And, I was like, I want that person to be my personal trainer.
Yeah.
So I trained with her for several months, and then I saw a group of girls that were training for something. I didn't know what they were training for. And so when I inquired, I found out they were training for bodybuilding competitions.
Okay.
So I became friends with one of them. You may see on my social media, Erica Roberts, and she showed me the way, to say the very least, and that's how I got started.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah.
So was Erica the one who kind of convinced you to do your first contest?
I don't know if she convinced me. I think she gave me the tools that I needed to say, hey, this looks interesting. She kind of showed me the light, and I was like, yeah, I want to try it.
That's terrific. That's so cool. Yeah, it's great that you didn't want to deal with the blood pressure medicine. You wanted to turn your life around, and
yeah.
So bodybuilding really helped you in that.
It did tremendously, to say the least, tremendously.
Wow, that's terrific. Now, I was curious, when you first started, did you have a fitness role model that you were looking up to in the bodybuilding world?
I did when I first started initially, especially not knowing anything about the sport. There were a few local competitors out here. One's name is Lee Sexton. Another Mona Porcelet. She's now in bodybuilding. She, I believe, initially was in Physique, is when I saw her, and like her graceful movements with her posing routines. Those were the two locals that I would watch. And then as the years went on, I kind of just started looking at, everybody like that were on the Olympia stage. But at the beginning, those were the two females that I looked at often.
Yeah, Mona is really terrific. She's amazing. And yeah, she's definitely one of the top women's bodybuilders for sure. Yeah. I hope that she'll compete again this year too. That would be cool.
Yeah, it was nice to see her. She was at the Toronto Pro Show 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks ago, handing out the medals. So it was nice because I haven't seen her in years, like in person.
Really? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't realize that she handed out the medals there. I didn't have to go back and look again.
She did with for women's bodybuilding.
Oh, did she? Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. I'll have to look at that again. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Now I was curious, when you first started competing, did you get kind of nervous on stage, and do you get nervous these days going up on stage?
So yes, when I first started, I was extremely nervous.
Yeah.
One, because I was wearing a bikini, and that was the first thing. And two, just being growing up, I was a very shy kid. I've later in life learned to be more social and have conversations with people, look people in the eye, and that type of stuff. And yeah, I was nervous. So what I would do for the first several shows, I would have a sip of wine backstage.
Okay.
And one year, I can't remember what year it was, but I remember my dad came and my uncle came. It was a Chicago Pro, and I was competing. A friend of mine was competing as well, so we went down together. And so I had a sip of wine backstage, and I was like, oh. And I had another sip of wine, and so I had 3 sips of wine, and I got on stage, and I felt like I was going to pass out. Like I had to come on stage when I was on that sideline. I felt like I was going to pass out. And one of the stage marshals looked at me, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then not even 10 seconds later, I turned to her, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not fine." Wow. So I ran backstage. I had a chug of some Gatorade, came back on, and I was able to finish.
Okay.
But that was the very last time. So now you get the nerves, right? Like you're going up there, you're presenting your body for it to be judged.
Yeah.
So I just dance. And that's why I always hope that there's a good DJ. So when I'm backstage, I just kind of dance and let the nerves out. I take a couple deep breaths, and then I just go on stage. So it's a lot more fun now because I feel like I've gotten rid of the nerves.
That's terrific. That's really good. You look so confident on stage, and your posing is really graceful. You look really good.
Thank you. It took a while. I told my coach when we spoke after the show, I was like, that was the most comfortable and confident that I felt on stage since I've started competing. He was like, yeah, you could see it. So it was nice.
That's terrific. That's really good. Yeah, that's great that you feel that way now. And
yeah,
I think just being involved in the sport, you kind of evolve too over time,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was thinking too, with shyness, being part of the soccer team, I bet would kind of help get you over shyness a little bit too, because you have to interact with your team and
yeah, but that was okay though, because I'm not being judged, right? It's a sport.
Yeah.
This is a sport as well, but it's more of an individual sport where you're displaying your body. That is like the ball, get it in the net, your referee tells you, whatever.
That's
so
true.
It was a little bit different. The interaction is different.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was actually very vocal playing soccer.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. That's one thing I want to mention too, with Alyssa Capolino, who's she's also Canadian women's physique, but she did soccer through college as well. So you guys have in common too.
Yeah, I saw that on her, and I watched her interview. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool to know what school she went to.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Was over in Waterloo, I think. So.
Oh, okay.
Or Kitchener, somewhere over there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was curious. My next few questions are just about prep, but I was wondering, what would you say is the toughest aspect of competition prep for you? Excuse me.
Getting started.
Getting started? Yeah.
Getting started. Yeah. That once I'm like mentally ready and it's like, okay, it's go time, it switches on. It's a matter of getting to that point.
Okay.
So, where I'm able to go out for dinner with my kids or my friends or whatever and have a burger or have pizza. So it's weaning the things off that you're not going to be able to have.
Yeah.
That is the hardest part. And sometimes I tend to say, oh, prep starts in a week. Let's eat all I can right now. I can be honest. Yeah. Let's eat all I can right now, get it all in, because I know I won't be able to do it. But yeah, the initial start to prep is the hardest. Once I'm locked in, I'm fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you kind of get in your routine and
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Yeah. Um, do you find it tough to do Toronto and Masters Olympia somewhat close together or for prep?
You know what? Initially, I was like, oh, wow, it's 12 weeks apart. Okay. It's like starting a new prep all over again.
Hmm.
Right now, yeah, right now, I find mentally a little challenging.
Hmm.
I'm ready, like my prep, but we have to scale back a little bit before we, you know, put the pedal to the metal.
Okay.
Just because we need to, my coach is like the mastermind here, so he knows what he's doing, and I just follow his lead.
Sure.
Uh, but yeah, you kind of got to scale back a little bit because I've been prepping since January because initially I was going to do Vancouver.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but because of my work schedule got changed around a little bit. I wasn't able to do it. So I've been in prep since January. We did scale back a little bit towards the beginning when I knew that I couldn't do Vancouver,
Yeah.
but I don't find it hard. I just find mentally right now, it's like, am I going to be ready? Like,
Hmm.
I'm holding some water. Like,
Hmm.
you see it in my face, under my eyes, my legs, especially with work and being on my feet all the time. I've
Hmm.
been holding a lot of water.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of getting rid of it, and I guess fine tuning and getting a little sharper than I was in Toronto, or a lot
Okay.
sharper, whichever way you want to look at it.
Sure. Yeah. We talked a little bit earlier about what you do for a living. You're actually a police officer in
Yeah.
Toronto there, right? I bet, and that's a tough job, and that's it's pretty rigorous too. And that's I bet that was tough having to change schedule too, and not necessarily be able to do Vancouver as you were hoping.
Yeah. Well, I knew that I had the option for Toronto, and so my plan was to do Vancouver and Toronto.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I always like doing Toronto because my family's here. It's home base. It gives them the opportunity to come see. My kids can see. So it wasn't too tough not doing it. It's like, okay, hold on a second. Let's not stop the prep, but let's scale back a little bit on the prep
Yeah.
until it's time to really prep for Toronto.
Okay.
So yeah, it was all right. I mean, I'm not disappointed because I'm going to Romania. I'm
I
not even gonna
know.
lie.
That's so exciting,
Yeah,
huh? Yeah.
it is.
I think, yeah, you're going to do great there too, I think. So, yeah.
I'm praying so. That is the goal.
Now, I was curious, when you're uh, you're doing prep or ending prep, do you kind of find it hard to do that transition between your off-season shape and competition shape? Because I think a lot of women have, some body dysmorphia associated with that. But how do you feel about that?
Uh, so going from prep to the off season, or going from off season to prep, because
Actually, both.
yeah, because it is different. Going from uh, competing to off season is
Hmm.
definitely a challenge. And I will say this: I think a lot of people don't realize this, and maybe they do. And I can tell you that from like going from Toronto to the week after Toronto,
Hmm.
sugar is the devil.
Hmm. Yeah, I
it
understand.
is it is I find so addicting, especially when you haven't had it for so long.
Yeah,
Uh,
I bet.
so you see your body at its peak, at its best, and then I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, if you haven't controlled that, your body changes so fast,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So you're seeing 6 or 8 pack, vascular, everything is there, to where did it all go?
Mhm. Go to
Where did
one
it all
plan.
go? We're human, right? Some
Yeah,
people are able to control it better than others.
yeah.
I am a sugar fiend, and so it's hard to control after prep. It's easy to control going into prep
Okay, sure.
because mentally I'm there and I'm like, I can't have it. So
Yeah,
it's easy for me to slide in. But to stop after prep, after competing is a challenge. But yeah, I go through body dysmorphia all the time. I
sure.
will look in my mirror at home, and I'm like, oh, I'm holding so much water, I'm this, that, and the other. And then I go train with my coach at the gym, and he you know, we do a lot of recordings, and then he'll play it back and show me, and I'm like, oh my God, look at that, look at that, look at that. You know, so, and I told him, I was like, my home mirror will discourage me from doing a lot of things, because it I don't know what it is with the gym mirrors, but when I look at it from home, it's, yeah. And it can lead you into depression if you don't know how to control it.
Sure, I understand that. Yeah. That I think it's something do you find after competing for a few years that you have less of that body dysmorphia, or is it still kind of the same, or maybe more so?
I don't think it's more so.
Mhm.
I think I'm able to, so if I get in that moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've put on 40 pounds or whatever, I don't look good, or I'm not, you know, whatever it is that I'm thinking,
Mhm.
I'm able to scale back and be like, okay, girl, you're tripping, like just chill out. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not worse, but it's not 100% better.
Okay. Sure. I understand that.
I
Yeah.
think it's just a matter, and maybe it's more so me being able to control, or not allowing my body to get to a point where it's too much. It's a
Mhm.
little bit, you know, but it doesn't get too much.
Sure.
So,
I understand that. Yeah. I was curious, you talked a little bit about this just now, but what advice could you give to rising pros who are, struggling with competition prep? Any strategies or that you have for that?
so just as far as like staying in prep,
Yeah, staying in
yeah.
prep and staying focused.
One thing that I tell people, whether you're a pro or you're not a pro, and if you're just starting out, is be prepared to ride this road solo.
Hmm. Yeah.
Be prepared for that. It may not happen, but
Hmm.
there's potential for it. So along the
Hmm.
way, I've lost people who I thought were my friends,
Hmm.
which, I mean, I'm almost 50 years old. So for me, I'm just like, whatever. But think about like a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old who their world revolves around friendship.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I've got my 2 or 3 friends who are solid, and, you know, but I don't need that big surrounding. So
Hmm.
just be prepared, because what's going to happen is they're going to invite you out for dinner. They're going to want to go to the club. They're going to want to maybe go drinking. They might want to go on vacation. You're in prep. You can't do those things.
Hmm. Yeah.
So just be prepared for that. You know,
Mhm.
and if it's something that you really, the one thing I will say is, if it's something that you really want to do, just do it. Don't
Mhm.
let the outside noise deter you. Just focus on yourself and just do it. You know, if you have a coach, focus on what your coach is telling you, take the advice that he or she is giving you,
Mhm.
and just enjoy the process and trust the process. So a lot of times I find people don't trust the process. Oh, my coach this, my coach that. But how long have you been with your coach
Mhm.
to be able to trust that process? I don't think a year is enough, because your coach has to learn your body, right?
Sure.
And it doesn't happen overnight. My first coach, I was with him for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit more. He
Mhm.
retired, hence why I switched. And I've been with my coach now for almost 10 years.
Really?
And
Wow.
I've seen the progression over, you know, the last about 9 years we've been working together. And we both see the progression. So you have to trust the process, and trust that your coach has your best interests at heart.
That's good advice. Yeah. Now, you mentioned your coach. What's your coach's name?
Adam Headland. He's
Great.
amazing. He's amazing.
Is he a Canadian also?
He's Canadian. Yeah.
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 Very cool.
Yeah, he competed as well back in the day. But yeah, he's such a smart guy, and just, I think we make like and I told him the other day, I think we make a good fit, because similar personality styles. We don't need the hype, the hoopla, and all of that. They're very humble people, and
Hmm.
um, he's not afraid to tell me, you know, what are you doing? What's going on?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I can talk to him about anything. Like if something's going on, I can tell him. Most times I don't want to bother him, but he's like, you're supposed to bother me. I'm supposed to know what's going on. Like, don't hold things in, because then it's going to cause stress on your body, and it can change, you know, the condition of your body and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, super great guy. Super, super great guy. I will probably, if he doesn't retire first, I will retire with him.
Okay, cool. That's great. That's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to have that's a long coaching tenure too. I don't think I've interviewed anybody who's been working with a coach for that long. So that's great.
Yeah.
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 Now, do you have a posing coach too?
So I wouldn't say opposing coach per se. I did utilize somebody a couple, like when I first started. And then I just kind of did my own thing. I just posed on my own. I felt like, I was able to pose well.
Hmm.
And then after I competed 2021 in Toronto, I looked back at some of the pictures and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get somebody else's eyes to look at me. So this year I used Mindi O'Brien, and that
Cool.
was probably the best decision that I made. Like, she didn't make great changes. She fine-tuned everything, which I feel like benefited me in the end. So I will use her. I told her, I was like, be prepared, because I will be coming to see you, before the Olympia. So I'd like to schedule a couple of more sessions with her to continue the process.
That's great. She's amazing too. I
Oh
wonder,
yeah.
is she going to compete again, or do you have any?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she might get the itch, but I don't know. She'd have to tell you herself. I'm not sure.
That's great. No, yeah, she's amazing, and yeah, her
She is.
posing is really good too. So yeah.
I will never do a routine like hers though.
Oh
If you've ever
yeah,
seen routines, because I'm not flipping anywhere.
yeah, she does. Yeah, that's a kind of
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I think she started in fitness. I think.
Yeah, she's got a
Yeah,
fitness background from what I know.
yeah, and she's been competing for a long time too. So
Hmm.
yeah,
And always in condition.
yeah,
Always.
I know. Yeah, she's amazing. I saw her in Tampa one time, and I think she
Hmm.
won the women's physique that year. And man, she
Okay.
just looked so good. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Now, we talked a little bit about this already, uh, but just I'll ask it anyway. What advice can you give to up and coming bodybuilders who are looking for a good coach?
Do your research.
Hmm.
Don't expect drastic changes initially.
Hmm.
Like I said, they have to learn your body. A good coach will be able to coach you through anything.
Yeah,
But do your research. Do your research. And sometimes the ones that you see out there, how do I phrase this? It's not always the well-known ones that will know you well, if
hmm,
that makes sense.
sure.
So
Yeah,
you've got to pick not because, this coach has 20 athletes, does that mean that coach is going to be beneficial to you? So you've got to research your coaches that you feel that's going to be beneficial to yourself.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good advice. Yeah, definitely. Um, and I was curious, you talked about, you live in Toronto, and I was curious, is there a supportive bodybuilding community there, would you say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's not a very big community. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think maybe it is pretty big,
Hmm.
but when you go to these shows, you've seen that person or this person. So yeah, it's a fairly big community.
Sure.
Fairly.
There's definitely a lot of good muscle ladies there in Canada. I'm always impressed with the Canadian ladies. So.
We need some more shows out here though, some more pro shows in Canada.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
what I'd like to see. Yeah.
I remember Mindi O'Brien was going to do like a Niagara Falls show a few years back, and I think it didn't pan out,
I
unfortunately.
think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, I feel like that was around COVID time.
Oh yeah, I
I,
think you're
I
right.
might be wrong, but I think that's around the time that it was, in and around then.
Yeah,
So it could have been, maybe that's the reason why, I'm not sure.
I bet you're right. I think you're right about that. Yeah, maybe she can get that going again. That'd be
Mm.
cool. Yeah,
And Niagara's nice. It's a nice
it is.
place, right? Good place to visit. So if people come from overseas or the US, it's a good place to visit or vacation when you're done.
That's true. It is. That's a nice place, especially the Canadian side. It's better than the American side, I think.
100%.
It is. It's a lot nicer.
Yeah, the American side, they don't have no view over there. Canada side's like amazing.
And American side's kind of dumpy too. It's like, I don't know. It's not very, I didn't like it that much.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great for there.
Um, Now, my next few questions are about competing, and I was just curious about your experience at the Toronto Pro. You know, of course, you placed in the top 5 there, but how did you like the show, and how was it backstage and everything?
I find that the Toronto Pros always run well. Backstage, the backstage crew, the last couple of years, I can't say that I actually like remember the backstage crew. Like I remember them, calling your number and telling you to line up or whatever. But the guy that I don't know his name, and I apologize, whoever they had back there, he was fantastic.
Great.
Very good. Very good with communicating, getting whatever message he needed to get to us.
Okay.
He got to us. He didn't just say it once. He made sure that everybody knew what was happening and when it was happening. And then the stage marshal was great. So I think the show ran well. I didn't see any hiccups or feel any hiccups backstage. The camaraderie backstage, I can only speak for women's physique, but I found it to be great back there. Great. Sometimes you go to a show and it's like everybody's kind of in their own little zone.
Yeah.
And no communication, or and everybody's going on stage because you want to present yourself and everybody wants to win, but you should also have fun.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was my thing this year. I was like, regardless of what happens, I'm gonna have fun backstage.
Yeah.
And I met really great girls backstage, so it was nice.
That's terrific. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It always seems to be a really well-run show from the feedback I've gotten from other ladies. So that's great. Yeah. And I know, of course, your next show is Masters Olympia in Romania, and I bet you're very excited about that. But tell me a little bit about your preparations for that and your travel and everything. Will you get a chance to do any fun stuff there?
Oh, yeah. So we kind of scaled back a little bit. I feel like he's going to pick it up come Saturday when I see him.
Okay.
And then that's Adam I'm speaking of. So yeah, we have 10 weeks as of Saturday. So I believe that things are going to get, he's going to ramp things back up again. Sure. As far as travel, so I'm bringing my girls.
Oh, good.
And yeah, initially I wasn't going to, just it's not cheap.
Yeah,
right. It's an expensive trip, to say the very least. But if I'm going to be on a stage of that caliber, they can't stay home.
Yeah,
they have to be there. So me and my girls are going, and we are leaving on the 22nd, and we will be returning home on the 30th. So I told them, I'm like, the first they understand, they've been through many preps with me. So the first couple of days are leading up. It's peak week. It's leading up to the show. Sure. I don't know how my body's going to react to the flight.
Yeah.
So there will be very little movement when I get there.
Yeah.
And then once I'm done, so we're going to stay in Cluj. That's where it is. We're going to stay in Cluj until the 28th.
Okay.
28th in the morning, we're leaving and we're going to go to Bucharest. We're staying there for 2 days. Okay. So we're going to tour. I was looking at the Transylvania Hotel. So just based on proximity of where we'll be, we'll see. But we'll get into some good things. One of my colleagues is from Romania, so he's going to send me a list of things that we can do. So yeah, we're going to do a little bit of sightseeing and stuff once it's done.
That's terrific. How old are your daughters?
22 and 15.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, they're grown. It's great. It's a great time. I couldn't see myself with a 5-year-old right now.
Yeah. And traveling to Romania with a 5-year-old.
They would not be coming.
I understand.
No, absolutely
an adventure not. For them though to get to go to Romania, but they're excited about it. Yeah.
They're actually so they're both fluent in French. And they are, so my oldest one was like, she's been doing all the research, and she's like, oh, we're going to get outfits to, she's a character. But anyways, she said that the language isn't very different from French. So they both are like trying to learn the difference like between French and, pardon my ignorance, I don't know what the language is, but they're trying to like learn enough for us to get around. So it'll be interesting. So they're super excited. They are like really happy. So it'll be nice. We haven't traveled in a long time.
That's so cool. I think that's going to be a great opportunity for you guys, and it'll be a lot of fun too. And I'm sure they'll yell for you. It's always to have good to have somebody yelling for you in the audience.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
Now I was curious, what feedback have you gotten from the judges in terms of where to improve your physique?
So I have not gotten my feedback yet. I put in for feedback. It just hasn't come back yet. So I'm just waiting to see. Hopefully it'll come in soon. I was told that it doesn't take very long, so hopefully it'll come in soon, and I can see what that feedback is.
How about in the past?
Sorry?
About feedback in the past that
about from the Toronto show.
Or well, I was thinking from the past.
From
past
the
years.
past. I'm sorry. So from the past, the one thing that I've always been told is I need to come in. It's either you got to come in tighter, or you got to come in sharper, or you got to come in crisper. They all mean the same thing. Get leaner.
Yeah, sure. I understand.
So it's about getting leaner, and I'll be honest with you, David. If I have to do 3 hours of cardio a day, I'll do 3 hours of cardio a day. I'll just figure out when I can fit it into my day and get it done.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Because the goal is to be better than I was. It's always be better than I was the show before. So I've got to be better than the Toronto show.
Yeah.
So if I've got to do 3 hours, Adam, please no. But if I have to, I will.
That's great. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Now I was curious in terms of your physique, what's your favorite muscle group, and what would you say is your least favorite?
My favorite, I would say, is my back.
Yeah.
I'd say my back and my shoulders are my favorite.
Okay.
My chest is the worst.
Oh yeah.
Because I hate training it. I hate training chest. I'm like,
oh,
it's like I don't know why. I absolutely hate it.
Really?
Just the feeling of like the movement for it sounds weird, but I'm like, yeah, just the movement. But I've been better this year in training chest, but yeah, I don't like it.
Really? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Your chest looks great, I think. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. It's crappy to train. I'd rather train legs 3 times a week than train my chest.
Really? Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
It doesn't show on stage though. You look great on stage.
Thank you.
Yeah. And your back and shoulders are really good too. They really stand out. We're running a little low on time. We have about 7 minutes. So, one question I ask pretty much everybody, if you were in a leadership position with IFBB, what would you do to improve the sport of bodybuilding, and how would you try to make the sport better?
Ooh.
I'm asking heavy questions here.
Yeah. So as far as improvement, and I know there's like this debate about the whole height and weight thing. I don't want to touch that, only because I feel like I need more information.
Okay.
I don't think it's enough information. Like, it's okay to say, yes, we're going to do a height class or we're going to do a weight class. I get it, because we had to do that at our regional shows here and even nationals when we competed. And then, so it was, I don't even remember. It was like, I think it was height. It was based off of height. So short, medium, tall, however they classified it. And then it was the top, the winner of each group, then you'd go for overall. So is it going to be something like that? Or is it going to be something different? So I don't want to touch that, just because I don't know enough about it.
Sure.
As far as like improving, the fans come out for different reasons. Because you like the heavyweights, you like the 212s, men's physique, bikini, women's bodybuilding or physique wellness. It's not a mass of people that are only there for one category. So I just personally, I would say the wage gap should change.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, it's something that in all sports is the exact same, right? The men get paid more. I just think that the women should be rewarded a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree.
Than we are. So what was your other question? Sorry.
Oh no, just that. No, just how would you make the sport better, basically? But
yeah, I think that would be it. Like, I don't know what else what other things that are out there, but I think for me that's the number one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And the money situation is really tough, I think. And that's true, like you were talking about soccer too. Certainly in women's soccer, there's a huge wage differential too there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Even at the college level, I'll tell you a quick story. I know we don't have that much time, but even
yeah,
at the college level, we don't get paid money, right?
yeah.
So I went to the University of Detroit Mercy. Our men's basketball team won the like our division was called the MCC.
Hmm.
They won theirs and we won ours, the soccer team. So men's basketball, women's soccer. The men's basketball team got gold championship rings. Like I'm talking big championship rings. We got a sweatshirt that said
Right.
champion. So I've been
Oh,
dealing with this for a very long time. And
yeah.
like I even went into our athletic director and was like, what is this? Like, how do they get gold nugget rings and we get a sweatshirt? Right. So
That's
what
disappointing. Yeah, that's not, yeah,
do
not
you
fair.
do?
Yeah, no, it has been going on for a long time. I think
Yeah.
with the NIL deals, maybe it'll be even worse because I think there's like more money going into men's sports now. And I don't know if the women are really not getting the cut that they deserve. I
Yeah.
think.
I don't
So,
know. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe
Um,
that'll be my next career change.
yeah, that's true. um, uh, I think I have time for one or two more questions. I was curious, are your parents still alive?
Yep.
What do they think about your bodybuilding journey, and are they supportive?
Yep. My dad is like outside of my kids, number one fan.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah, that's
awesome.
good.
My mom, it took her a little bit of time to warm up to it, but she understands it now. She didn't understand it before. She didn't understand why I was weighing my food, why I can't go out for dinner, why I can't eat her jerk chicken and oxtail, you know. So she knows when she sees me cutting down inside, she knows, okay, well, yeah, she'll be like, oh, Natalee's not going to eat my food. Don't worry about it. You can have some more.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, she's come around. She understands it. So they were both at the show. My stepdad was at the show as well.
Good.
So it was nice. They're very supportive.
Is your mom from the Caribbean?
Yeah, both of them.
Oh, they both are? Oh, very cool. They have got the accent and everything going?
My dad more so than my mom.
Really? Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah. That's so cool.
yeah,
Um, no, that's great that they're so supportive too, and that your mom kind of came around too.
yeah.
I talked to a few ladies whose parents are not as supportive, and it always I can tell it, it's a little disappointing to them, when that's the case. But yeah, and
It is hard, right? Like you expect that of all people, your parents should be the ones that. But the thing is, they don't get it, and they hear the misconceptions and they hear the negative things behind the sport. Let's be honest, a lot of negativity behind the sport,
yeah.
right? And if your parents are old school, my
Hmm.
parents are old school, but my parents know that when I put my head to something, I'm going to do it regardless whether they like it or not, right? Because it's something that I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, but if they're old school, they it's hard to turn them around to let them understand, like, hey, I'm okay. Like this is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, but I get it. I get it.
I think it would be tough for old school parents to see your daughter in a bikini up on stage too. That they'd be like, I don't know about
True enough. Yeah, true.
Oh man. Well, we're pretty much out of time. I wanted to thank you so much for joining me. And
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. And I'm gonna include your Instagram and your coach's Instagrams down below too.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. And I'll try to get this posted relatively soon, probably next hour or so. So we'll get
Oh,
it out
awesome.
to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, David. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for having me on your show and thank you for the exposure.
Thank you.
I am gratefully honored. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And best wishes for the Masters Olympia, and hope your
Thank
daughters have a
you.
lot of fun too.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
All
Natalee.
right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.